Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for joining me for another Magic the Gathering review. Now we are continuing on from the latest one, which is that little secret lair of it was like Ultimate Pencil Super Drop, which had some interesting stuff in it. And I also included in some other things like the Extra Life, as well as the Chaos Drop of the $1 lands. The lands that were sold for $1 per the secret lair. So one thing that was part of that drop, that the super drop that I didn't get to, was this commander deck. Pre-constructed commander deck, which I believe this might be the most recent one, is a, higher end pre-constructed commander deck that came with it, with some cards there, including this nifty little secret lair one there. Thought it might be a sticker, but it doesn't feel like I've got a place to be able to pull it out. But comes always, all of these come with a little package on them there. It's having a little bit of trouble getting it out of there, so I'm wondering if it has a little bit of tape or something holding it in. Oh, guess we're just going to do that, get whatever it is off. So this one here is going to be Everyone's Invited. We see the little sparkles, the disc for the DJ, as well as this disco ball hanging from the ceiling. It goes all the way up on the package there. And we are going to get our full stuff here, which will include, this is just holding it back so that we would be able to have enough space to put some sleeves in our card. It looks like we are going to get some spin down counter here. Goes up to 20 on this side, and it keeps on going on this side all the way up to your normal 40 there. Just having a little bit of, extra swag, if you will. And it comes with, I think, a little tiny thing here, just a little visual there of one of the cards. I believe this one is Taurian Mauler, maybe. This is the artwork for it, which has some of these pixies that are dancing on the discs for the DJ stand. You've got some of the people in the crowd dancing around, and he's having the time of his life being a DJ. And it looks like this is probably another one here. So I think that all of these that are mentioned here are the ones with the unique artwork. Morophon the Boundless, who is the commander. Maskwood Nexus, Kindred Summons, Raise the Palisades, Bitterblossom, Taurian Mauler, Tendershoot Dryad, Avenger of Zendikar, Coat of Arms, Soul Ring, and 4 Shapeshifter tokens. So I believe those are the big, important ones that we are going to be looking at. And I guess I can add in some prices or whatnot there of like, was this product worth it or not type of deal. But Bitterblossom is very, I guess, important now because of the Lorwyn Eclipsed, which, I actually just got them in. So I just wanted to get this finished up before I got into that. But you can expect those as essentially the next offerings up of what is going to be going into it. And I'm just trying to see, it looks like it's got a little tab around, but I don't see where they have a little pull. So, but yes, you can expect Lorwyn, as well as the Lorwyn Commander decks. So 2 collector boosters, the commander decks, and then we're also going to be getting a secret lair for the Fallout TV series, which I'm a bit surprised it's not a secret lair for Lorwyn itself, which is a bit strange. But we're going to start off with Morophon the Boundless. Now it comes with this sort of what would you call it there? It's like a cardboard card there, so very, very thick, a lot thicker than it normally is, so that it can show up as maybe something on the front there, something that isn't quite as easily damaged. But generally these do have a bit of value to them in and of themselves. So, I mean, we're definitely going to keep it. And funny enough, it actually has a different number than the regular one, which we will see. So, 1044, we'll get you a nice little glimpse at it here. So we've got Morophon the Boundless, kind of like this big type of, kind of similar to that Princess Mononoke, like forest deity there. Very, very nice. A lot of different little creatures dancing in the background, and it goes down into underneath the card there. But I'm just going to put that one off to the side for the moment there, and we will talk about Morophon the Boundless, the regular version of it. So this is the one that you can play, but also, the one that if you don't want it as your commander, you can always put it into your deck normally. So Morophon the Boundless is 7 generic mana for a 6/6 legendary creature shapeshifter. That's a changeling. Changeling meaning that it is every creature type. So it can go in with a lot of synergies, and it's colorless, so you can put it in any deck. As Morophon enters, you choose a creature type. Spells of the chosen type you cast cost white, blue, black, red, and green less to cast. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay. So you choose a creature type, and you're like, okay, the colors of it go down there. So it only works on the colored pips of things. So if you have something that is white, blue, black, red, green, Wilburg, that you can cost that is the same creature type, well, it becomes free with Morophon there. So, an interesting little one there. And also it gives the other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Works very, very well with, changelings, because as a kindred, they are every type, every creature type. So you could choose a creature type and fill it up with a lot of different changelings to sort of augment it, especially if there are not a whole lot of them there, and Morophon can just kind of give a little bit of that extra bonus for it. Next up, another one of the new cards for us, Raise the Palisades. We've got a dragon that is essentially making a big kebab here with a lot of different meats on it there, whether it is getting it for itself or for some customers. It looks like they're doing it for like a bunch of different folks, because I see that they've got another one right here prepped with it's just a bunch of goblins, it looks like there. So almost a little bit like Kobolds of Carekeep there, where you've got a big dragon that is kind of the big boss there doing some stuff, and you've got some goblins around. 4 and a blue for sorcery. Choose a creature type. Return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hand. And just like that, the vibe went from keep out to cook out. So there we go. A good way of doing kind of a one-sided board wipe. You choose all of the types that you don't control, and hopefully your opponents don't have much in terms of those types either. Up next here, we're going to have one of our big ones, Bitterblossom, a very, very iconic card from Lorwyn originally. I think they might have brought it back, and I think it's had a couple of different reprints over the years, including a previous Secret Lair, which I will be honest, I did not originally start getting the Secret Lairs, or at least starting to grab them pretty regularly until later on. So some of those early ones don't actually have. But I think what I would try to do at some point is, when I have the opportunity and can work on it there, I would like to be able to get some of the old ones. But Bitterblossom, 1 and a black for a kindred enchantment fairy. So this is a fairy enchantment. So if it says if you cast a fairy spell on something, then you get something, well, this counts as that. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life, and you create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. So, kind of similar to Phyrexian Arena, except instead of drawing a card, you just create a little guy with flying. So they don't have any flying. You can go in. If you need more creatures there, if you have a deck based off of creatures, you can get another one every turn for 1 life to go wide. If you deal with fairies in and of themselves, another good one for that. Up next here, we're going to have a little bit of Taurian Mauler. So that was the image that we had previously. I guess I didn't much talk about the Bitterblossom there. We've got actually a little fairy that is popping out of a flower bloom there. So makes a lot of sense there. So, but you saw a lot of that. So we want to get back to the Taurian Mauler who we saw on the previous, the little sheet that we had here. Which is going to be 2 and a red for a 2/2 Shapeshifter Changeling with whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 on this creature. So it gets bigger from your opponent's playing things there. So as we said, dressed up like a DJ with some pixies dancing around on top of his DJ set. So, you know, very, very cool guy there. I remember him coming out in some Commander products previously, so nice to see him again. We're also going to get a little bit of Avenger of Zendikar, which looks like we have a giant plant-like being that has almost like a keg for a head that is spewing out all of the beer or whatever type of stuff that you want to say is in there to kind of get people hyped up and partying and whatnot. But we have 5 and 2 green for a 5/5 elemental with when it ETBs, you create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. And whenever a land you control ETBs, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant you control. So the whole point of this one here is you put it in when you have a decent amount of lands, and then you can put lands in afterwards and make all of those plant tokens you just put in really, really big. So one that I was thinking of putting in again, that Jund land recycling and bringing back deck, because you're constantly putting new lands in there, even by destroying them or discarding them, what have you there. But bringing them back and bring a whole lot, you can get those plants up really, really big. Okay, next up we've got Kindred Summons, which looks like we have a lot of different types of people around. A little bit of Angel here. It looks a little bit like Merfolk, Goblin, and a couple of others that I can't quite distinguish. I can see that they've got ears on them, so my first thought would be like one of them might be a satyr, one of them might be an elf, but I don't really see satyr qualities amongst them there. But Kindred Summons will be 5 and double green for an instant with choose a creature type. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type. Put those cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest of your deck shuffle the rest of the revealed cards into your library. So you got a lot of creatures out there. You choose a creature type that you have a lot of them in common, and you can just put a bunch of them out onto the battlefield all at one time. So that's what the big thing of this one is. You know, it's very expensive because you're just putting them onto the battlefield. Like, you can choose whatever creature type that you want of it to try to get them all out there. Going to be getting that Tendershoot Dryad like we had talked about, and it looks like this is that one that we had on the opposite side of that particular the image that had the Taurian Mauler on the front. So looks like they have a lot of different party goers kind of around them, but center spotlight is going to be on that Dryad in general. But we have a lot of different guys. It looks like we might even have a sliver right here. So 4 and a green for a 2/2 creature Dryad with Ascend, meaning that if you control 10 or more permanents, then you gain the City's Blessing. And at the beginning of each upkeep, you create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. Saproling creatures you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. So kind of similar to Bitterblossom, that you will be getting more guys as long as this is out on the battlefield. And once you get that City's Blessing, those guys you put out become 3/3s. So that's why it's kind of impactful, but they got to keep it a little bit easy to deal with since it is such a good card. It's, you know, you don't have to pay any life like Bitterblossom to be able to get more guys. It's just, you know, every upkeep you get a new guy. I'm wondering if I'm trying to remember if it's like Obeka or something where you get multiple upkeeps. Or I think that there's another one where you might get an upkeep, like a bit additional upkeep step at the end of your turn or something. So that might be good with that Tendershoot Dryad. We're also going to get a little bit of Coat of Arms, which it looks like we're going to have this sort of like dragon goblin that is floating over the top of all of these other people that are partying here, kind of carrying a little bit of lights with them to make it a little bit fun. 5 mana for an artifact with each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least one creature type with it. So a lot of those fairies and saplings that you get, you know, the more that you get of them, the more that they boost up their power for each other. But also any changelings that you get also helps to boost up all of the other cards around them, since they are every creature type there. So very, very good if you're putting a lot of creatures out on the battlefield, if they've got a lot there. And it looks like what we have here is going to be the artwork that was on that spin down here, because we see the giant goddess right here and some of the other kind of creatures around, fairy, angel, another, you know, fairy or pixie, some sort of dragon with bat wings. We've got Fibblethip and some dinosaur and some other ones there. This one looks like another fairy there. 4 mana artifact with creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So this goes very, very well with that Kindred Summons, because it makes every single card in your deck, you know, a creature card there. So, I mean, and it accounts for each one of those creature types there. So, because it's that aren't on the battlefield. So that just means that everything in your hand and deck are the same creature type. So you get all of those extra benefits there. And as well as the saplings with the Tendershoot Dryad, if you've got the City's Blessing, then every single creature that you got also has the +2/+2. And then they also get bonuses from the Coat of Arms if they're all the same creature type too. So, you know, a little bit of synergy there. And you can also spend 3 and tap to create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. So you get to add in a bit more creatures there to kind of help out with that Kindred Summons, or you know, anything else that needs a bit more, or to just make your board a little bit wider. And as with everything there, every one of these sets we get a Soul Ring, which looks like we're going to have a Raver here that has their headband on, which is the Soul Ring. Their hair is full of different fruits and flowers there, showcasing that they're a bit more natural. Vines kind of make up their clothing down here behind the paneling. Their above their eyes has a bit more feathering effects there, and they've got the kind of glitter of the Raves going on, with sort of like a Rave gear going on. Another heart coming down right here at the base of their neck. So, you know, a nice little one there. You know, 1 mana artifact, taps to add 2 colorless, kind of your standard one there. And just kind of going back to it there, just so that we can showcase it of those numbers, how this Morophon, this cardboardy one, has a number of 1944, but this one over here has a code of 1896, so they are technically different cards. So going into our other cards here, now that we've gone through all of the regular stuff, we've got a Harper Recruiter, 2 and a white, 3/1, human warrior with flying. When it attacks, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a cleric, rogue, wizard, and or warrior. Sorry, a cleric card, a rogue card, a warrior card, and or a wizard card from among them. Put them into your hand. The rest go onto the bottom of your library in the random order. So if you've got something like Coat of Arms, or if you've got a bunch of changelings, they count as all of those there, so you can put those in. So, you know, helps to kind of get more of those guys in. Mirror Entity, 2 and a white, 1/1 shapeshifter with changeling that you can pay X. And until the end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX and gain all creature types. So another way for you to be able to make everything have all of the different creature types there. You know, it's just another method of it if you don't have the Maskwood Nexus there of giving them all of that. Plus you can make them very big. You obviously don't want to make them 0/0s by paying 0 mana, because everything would die. But, you know, you have a bit of mana, you can increase their base power and toughness there for most things. I mean, Morophon has 6, so, and you have to pay 6 to make Morophon as good as it is. But if most of your stuff is 1 or 2, you can pay 3 mana in to get a lot more damage, pay 4 in to get a lot more damage. So, you know, it's a good one there to get it all together. Stick together, 3 and double white for a sorcery. Each player chooses a party from among creatures they control and then sack the rest. To choose a party, choose up to 1 each of Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. Again, so, it's a bit of a board wipe there. If you've got a lot of changelings or things that have those types, then you can choose up to 4 of your stuff to keep, and depending on what they have, they might have to get rid of all of their stuff. They might keep 1 or 2 things there, but it's to try to get a lot of stuff off the board. Tazri, Beacon of Unity, 4 and a white for a 4/6 legendary creature, human warrior. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. You can get up to 4 things in your party, as we saw before. Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. And if you've got Morophon out on the battlefield to reduce this by white, you can play this for free there. If you've got Morophon on the battlefield itself, you have all of the 4 different classes, so Tazri becomes free if you have Morophon on the battlefield. So Tazri, 4 and a white, 4/6, legendary human warrior. That's what we already talked about. And for hybrid, 2 or blue, 2 or black, 2 or red, and 2 or green. You can look at the top 6 cards of your library, and you can reveal up to 2 cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard, and or ally cards from among them, and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So very similar to our first one there, the Harper Recruiter, where it's helping us get a whole lot more things. Now, unfortunately, Morophon does not help reduce that cost because it's an activated ability and it's not a casting cost. So that is the only thing with it, but we've got the opportunity of potentially looking and getting a whole bunch of things that are within those classes. Arcane Adaptation, 2 and a blue enchantment. When it ETBs, you choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type are the chosen type in addition to their other types. Same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So another version here to be able to get everything of the same type for the kindred summonings and all of the other things that we had talked about there, and also to help fetch with the Harper Recruiter and Tazri there, because you can choose one singular type and they are just that particular type. Now, Changeling is not a type. It is just a subsection or like a subtype of Shapeshifter that is a specific ability. So can't choose Changeling, but you can choose Shapeshifter. But you could also choose something like Saproling to assist with the Tendershoot Dryad there to help out with that one there. So that, everything could potentially get that +2/+2 bonus. Double Down, 3 and a blue for an enchantment. For whenever you cast an outlaw spell, you copy that spell. That'll be assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, warlocks, or outlaws. Copies of permanent spells become tokens. So if you get, something like one of these spells that, Maskwood Nexus, or this Arcane Adaptation, or any of these other ones that make all of the stuff that are in your hand these outlaw spells, then you're getting twice as much stuff for them there. Now, it is whenever you cast an outlaw spell, so unfortunately, something like the Kindred, the Kindred enchantment for Bitterblossom won't get affected by this, so you won't get double of that. Because if you look on this, they only really deal with creatures there, and it's a Kindred enchantment that has the fairy typing of it there for the Kindred ability, but it won't work for this. So, getting double of all of your stuff is good. Kindred Discovery, 3 and double blue for an enchantment. As it ETBs, you choose a creature type, and whenever creature you control of the chosen type ETBs or attacks, you draw a card. So again, you've got one particular creature type. It's helping you draw a bunch of cards with that there. That's always good to get through. Black Market Connections, 2 and a black enchantment. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you choose one. You can choose one or more. You can create a treasure token. If you do, you lose a life. You can draw a card. If you do, you lose 2 life. Or you can create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter creature token with Changeling, and you lose 3 life. So you could potentially lose up to 6 life every turn, but you have to choose at least 1. So one of the big things to see about this here is that you can use this to help mana ramp. You can use it to draw the extra cards. You can use it to get the extra guy out there. So if there's a way, like you've got Soul Sisters or something like that to gain life whenever something goes on the battlefield. You know, you could be choosing all of these options there and make it really easy. Kindred Dominance, 5 and double black sorcery. Choose a creature type and destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type. So another way for you to be able to keep all of your stuff, if they're just one particular type there, you can choose something that your opponents don't have there, so that, you know, you can be like, okay, you know, one-sided board wipe, you know, those are always really good. I mean, that's why it costs so much to play. Magda, Brazen Outlaw, 1 and a red, legendary dwarf berserker, 2/1. Other dwarves you control get +1/+0. You know, anything that is a changeling or has all types become dwarves, so you can get that. And whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, you create a treasure token. Well, let's see here. If everything is all creature types there, then they are dwarves, so they become tapped, you get an extra treasure. And you can sack 5 treasures to search your library for an artifact or dragon card, put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. Well, again, everything that you have, if you got Maskwood Nexus or the arcane adaptation there and affects your library, well, every creature in your library becomes a dragon, and it just becomes searchable if you've got enough treasure tokens there. And I mean, if you've got enough that you're attacking in with even just a lot of small things there, then, you know, you can get a lot of treasure tokens. Chameleon Colossus, 2 and double green for a 4/4 shapeshifter with changeling and protection from black. 2 and double green for Chameleon Colossus, gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. So 4 mana to double its power each time. You know, it's not the most amazing one there. It is another changeling for you to be able to do. It's got a little bit of protection there, but, you know, if you've got a lot of mana, you can put that up a lot of times there to try to make like a little sneaky win, but it's probably not the best. It's probably I'm going to be honest, probably the worst card that we've seen so far from this. Up next, we got Feline Sovereign, 2 and a green for a 2/3 cat. With other cats you control, get +1/+1 and have protection from dogs. Very fitting there. So again, make everything a cat, then they get +1/+1. And whenever one or more cats you control deal combat damage to a player, you destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment that player controls. So, you know, you have everything be a cat, and you can just swing in and destroy a bunch of their artifacts and enchantments, get rid of their mana rocks, get rid of any enchantments that are very good. And it's things that they control, so if they've maybe put like a curse on you or something, they technically control that enchantment because it's just enchanted to you, so you can get rid of that as well. Up next, we got Realmwalker, another really, really good one there. 2 and a green for a 2/3 shapeshifter with changeling. Good changeling. As Realmwalker ETBs, choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells of the chosen type from the top of your library. So another very, very good one there. You can cast stuff from the top of your library. If you've got something like Vidalcan Ori to give all of your stuff flash, you know, you can flash out creatures from the top of your library. We also got Atlapalani, Nest Tender, 1 red, green, and white for a 2/3 legendary human shaman. With 2 and tap, create a 0/1 green egg creature token with Defender. And whenever an egg you control dies, reveal the top of your library until you reveal a creature card, and you put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Now, big thing about this one here is that, again, you know, Maskwood Nexus or Arcane Adaptation makes all of your stuff eggs. So whenever anything you have dies, as long as Atlapalani is on the battlefield, then you just replace it with something else. You know, can be pretty good there. The Bears of Lityara, 1 green and a blue for a enchantment saga. That when it ETBs, you create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with changeling. Any number of target shapeshifter creatures you control have base power and toughness 4/4, and choose up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Each creature with power 4 or greater you control deals damage equal to its power to that permanent. So first thing you get out there, it becomes you create a 2/2. And then because it's a shapeshifter, as long as this remains on the battlefield, it becomes a 4/4. And then for its final mode there, when because all of the creatures that the shapeshifter that you control has the 4/4 on it, you deal damage equal to its power to that permanent. So if it's bigger, it deals more. So, it's a way for you to kind of get rid of one particular creature that's on the battlefield that could be annoying. We're also going to get a little bit of Bernard, Ginger Sculptor. 1, a red, a white, and a blue for a 3/3 legendary human artificer. With each creature you control that's a food or a golem gets +2/+2 and has trample. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact creature in addition to its other types, and it has 2 tap, sack this artifact, you gain 3 life. Well, an interesting thing about that is technically food counts as a creature type. So all of your creatures that you might have, if they're changeling or if you do something to make them all types, well, they become foods. So they become foods and golems. So either or, they get +2/+2 and trample. But then, when they die, you can exile them. And if you do, you just create a copy of them that's a 1/1 food golem artifact. So you kind of get to keep it for a little bit longer there. So, being able to keep all of your stuff, they got to kill your things twice over to be able to get to it is pretty darn good. We've also got a little bit of Bruce Tarl, Roving Rancher. 2, a red and a white for a 4/3 legendary human warrior. Oxen you control of double strike. Of course, you're making everything Oxen as well, so everything you have has double strike. And whenever Bruce Tarl ETBs or attacks, exile the top card of your library. If it's a land, you create a 2/2 white ox creature token. Otherwise, you may cast it until the end of your next turn. So a little bit of extra card there if you've got it. And you can do it until the end of your next turn, so you don't have to play it on this turn. Cloud Shredder Sliver. So here's the sliver that we saw. Red and white for a 1/1 sliver. All sliver creatures you control have flying and haste, so you get this out there. You make a lot of your stuff changelings or all creatures. Everything you've got has flying and haste. Pretty darn good. A little bit of Kiri, Talented Sprout. 1, a red, a green, and a white for an 0/3 legendary plant druid. With other plants and tree folks you control get +2/+0. We know how that's going to happen there. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, return target plant, tree folk, or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Now again, you get Maskwood Nexus or Arcane Adaptation on there, and it says that all creatures that are not on the battlefield, which includes your graveyard, are all creature types. So you can return a land to your hand, or you can return a card that had died back to your hand as well, because they're all creature types. So a little bit of recursion there for you. One of the cards that had been the premier, what would you call it there? Of one of the previous Secret Lair Commander decks here, Rin and Seri Inseparable. 1, a red, green, and white for a 4/4 legendary dog cat. With whenever you cast a dog spell, you create a cat, a 1/1 green cat. And whenever you cast a cat spell, you create a 1/1 white dog creature token. So, you cast something that's both a dog and a cat, well, then you get both. And you can also pay a red, green, and white to tap and have Rin and Seri deal damage to any target equal to the number of dogs you control, and you gain life equal to the number of cats you control. So whether it's any target, so planeswalker, battle, creature, other player there, you can just deal damage to them for all of that there, and you can gain a bunch of life. You make everything dogs, that's a whole lot of damage. You make everything cats, well, you're gaining a whole bunch of life there. And I'm also seeing a lot of the stuff that we have had, particularly some of the legendary stuff, are generally cheap there, white and 2. With Morophon out, it takes away the white, so you only have to pay the 2. Same thing with Mirror Entity. With it out, you only need to pay 2. With this, it's white and 2. With this, it's just, it would be white and 3. This would just be 4. This would just be, no, this isn't a creature there. But a lot of these creatures here, Magda, if, you have something that are dwarves, it's just 1 to play. And, you know, with this, 2 mana, some big ones here like Atlaplani and Rin and Seri, well, it costs down for the white, the green, and the red, so it only costs 1 to play. This, I mean, that's not a creature. This only costs 1 to play. This only costs 2. You know, if you've made the Sliver any creature type, this is free. This becomes 1 to play. Rin and Seri becomes only 1 to play. I mean, you can be playing some of these stuff for very cheap if you've got Morophon out there. And here we are. Wooburg here, if you've got the things out to make it appropriate with Morophon and other stuff, you can be playing this for free. Rukarumel, Biologist. Wooburg, 3/3 Legendary Human Wizard with, as a ETBs, you choose a creature type. Slivers you control and non-token creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to their other creature types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So this is another way for you to be able to get creatures. However, you have to choose one type and basically, and then all non-tokens you control, all non-token creatures you control. Sliver tokens count, but I don't think that there's probably many ways to make sliver tokens in here. But this is another way of making everything one particular type for you to be able to get things out very, very easily, or to choose one particular type with any of these kindred spells. I guess in and of itself, it's creating sliver tokens here. 3 and tap, create a 1/1 colorless sliver creature token, so you can make more sliver creatures with this out. Sophia, Dog Detective, a little bit of Shaggy and Scooby-Doo here. Again, with Morophon out, it costs only 1. 3/4 Legendary Human Detective. When at ETBs, you create Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green Dog Detective creature token with Trample. You can pay 1 to sack an artifact token, and you can put a +1/+1 counter on each dog you control. Well, you make everything a dog, everything gets a +1/+1 on it for 1 mana and sacking an artifact. And whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, you create a food token and then investigate. So you can be creating a whole lot of artifacts with this here if you've got a whole bunch of dogs out on the battlefield there. So another thing to make everything really, really big. Unsettled Mariner. Remember this one fondly from Modern Horizons there. 1 and a white for a 2/2 Shapeshifter Changeling with whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays 1. Basically, this is Ward. So this is like the whole drawn out thing of Ward that they had before Ward was a keyword there. So it's nice to see that there, of a really cool there. And it's just nifty of like, hey, yeah, you know, you've got to pay an extra mana to do your targeting there, or sorry, it gets countered. Realm Breaker, the Invasion Tree, 3 mana for a legendary artifact with pay 2 mana and tap this, and target opponent mills 3 cards. You put a land card from their graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control, and it gains if this land would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. You can also pay 10 and tap this to sack it. And you search your library for any number of Praetor cards and you put them onto the battlefield and then shuffle. I wonder if you have made everything, all creature types in your deck, and you sacrifice this with the 10 mana. I wonder what you could do with that. I wonder how this synergizes at all. Looks like we're going to get some of our rare lands here. Adakar Wastes. A lot of these are probably just going to be mana fixing there. White and blue, green and white, blue and black. 1 mana of any color an opponent controls with Exotic Orchard. Fabled Passage to get any type of basic land there. If you have 4 or more lands, it's untapped. Green and red, black and red, green and red. Murmuring Brook. Oh, this must be from OG Lore one. I don't recognize this one at all. It's a forest, which is interesting. Taps for green. When at ETBs, you may reveal a Tree Folk card from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. And you can also tap this for white or black, and it deals 1 damage to you. I hadn't heard about this one before. I'll have to look into some of these because that's actually pretty darn cool. Like, you can have it enter tapped, and it's like it's a tri-land by having it deal a damage to you potentially. I like that. Mutavault there, make it a creature for 1 mana. It's an extra creature on the board there. It's a creature with all creature types as well, so, you know, get a lot of stuff. Green and blue, blue and black there. Now this is Secluded Glen. That's Murmuring Boss. Okay, so it's not secluded or anything like this. This is black and green, so I wonder how that differs. This one might just be from Eldraine maybe, but Fairy makes me think it's probably from Lorwyn. Sungrass Prairie, green and white. World Tree enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add green, and as long as you control 6 or more lands, all lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color, so you can choose whatever you want. Does a lot of mana fixing. Additionally, you can pay double Wooburg, so 2 white, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 red, 2 green to tap and sack the World Tree to search for your library for any number of God cards, put them on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. So very similar to Realm Breaker, because this is just another World Tree here. Just trying to see Invasion Tree instead of the World Tree there, but Realm Breaker was a seed taken from the World Tree there for the Phyrexian invasion. But yeah, you know, like, that's another way for you to get everything out there if you want to. Green and blue for Yavimaya Coast. And we've got some other things like Crib Swap here. 2 and a white for a Kindred instant. It's a shapeshifter, and this is a changeling. This card is every creature type. So this counts as a, you know, casting a spell of a certain type. So cat, dog, whatever. If it's just cares about casting, you know, a dog spell or a cat spell there, then you can do it. Exile target creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 colorless shapeshifter creature token with changeling. So get rid of a really problematic creature because it exiles it. It doesn't destroy it there. Imposter of the Sixth Pride. 1 and a white, 3/1 shapeshifter changeling. That's all it does. It's just an extra changeling for you. Kinsbane Cavalier. 3 and a white, 2/2 Kithkin Knight. All night creatures you control have double strike, so another way for you to get a bunch of double strike on everything. Shields of Velis Vel, 1 white for a tribal instant shapeshifter changeling. Again, another thing that gives you every type. Creatures target player controls get +0/+1 and gain all creature types until end of turn. Another way for you to get everything, but it's only on your battlefield that that gets affected there. So something like the Rinenseri tap effect there, or the Dog Detective one that cares about dogs there. This one would be good for that. Amoeboid Changeling, 1 and a blue, 1/1 shapeshifter changeling. You can tap this to have target creature gain all creature types until end of turn, or you can tap this to have target creature lose all creature types until end of turn. So probably not going to be doing this second one here quite as much. You're probably going to be given something all creature types just to get some extra benefit. You don't have to pay anything extra. It's just tapping this card. Arcane Denial. White, not white, 1 and a blue for an instant, counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep, and you draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Interestingly enough, it says its controller may, and it says draw up to 2 cards. So you can't force them to deck out with this here. But if you're playing hardcore and they forget that they can draw 2 cards, you know, kind of sucks to suck for them. But it's not a may effect for you. You do have to draw it. So if you do deck yourself out with this, that's kind of funny. Distant Melody, 3 and a blue. Sorcery, choose a creature type. Draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. You know, pretty easy for you there to be like, oh, yes, you know, I've got 10 of this creature type. Well, I'm going to draw 10 cards. Moth Dust Changeling, 1 blue for a 1/1 shapeshifter changeling. You can tap an untapped creature you control to have this gain flying until end of turn. Pretty simple there. Pongify, 1 blue for an instant, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated, and its controller gets a 3/3 green ape creature token. So a little bit more removal there. Shapesharer, 1 and a blue for a 1/1 shapeshifter changeling, and you can pay 2 and a blue for a target shapeshifter becomes a copy of target creature until your next turn. So you can pay 3 mana essentially to give any one of your shapeshifters to make it a copy of anything there. So if you've given everything all types, you can have your little puny 1/1s become a copy of something really, really good. or, you know, just anything. Or you can make it some copy of something you have, your opponent has, whatever you want there. So I think that that's pretty decent there. Have him copying I think that it's a giant here. So a little bit funny with them both catching a bunch of stuff, but the net is part of his body. Grave Shifter, 3 and a black for a 2/2 shapeshifter changeling with when it ETBs, you can return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. Very nice, very nice. You know, get a little bit of recursion. Nameless Inversion, 1 and a black, tribal instant shapeshifter changeling. Target creature gets +3, -3, and loses all creature types until end of turn. So you can make one of your things really, really big and make it not a certain type of creature, or, you know, you can use it as a removal effect there. You give something -3 toughness, it dies, then you can use this to get rid of it there, or you could pump up one of your opponent's stuff if they're getting through to deal a little bit of extra damage. Skeletal Changeling, 1 and a black, 1/1 shapeshifter changeling, 1 and a black to regenerate it there, so keep it around a little bit longer there. Nice blocker. Firebelly Changeling, 1 and a red for a 1/1 shapeshifter changeling. Pay 1 red, and Firebelly Changeling gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Play this ability no more than twice each turn there, just so that you're not making it too powerful there. Beast Within, another removal effect here, 2 and a green, instant, destroy target permanent. Controller gets a 3/3 green beast creature token. Cultivate there, get a little mana ramp, 2 and a green, sorcery, search a library for up to 2 basic lands, reveal them, 1 goes on the battlefield tapped, the other goes into your hand, and you shuffle your library. Farseek, more mana ramp, 1 and a green, sorcery, search a library for plains, island, swamp, or mountain, put on the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Does not have to be a basic land there, so that is a big advantage for this one, that you can get any single type of land as long as it has one of those types to it there. So dual land, tri-land, you can do what you want. Gemhide Sliver, 1 and a green for a 1/1 sliver. All slivers you have can tap for 1 mana of any color. If you make all of your stuff slivers, then, I mean, you can just go ahead and make sure that everything can just tap for extra mana, and you can play a whole lot of stuff out. Guardian Gladewalker, 1 and a green for a 1/1 shapeshifter changeling. When it ETBs, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Honestly, not that great. This is probably something that I would be taking out and substituting something else into this deck. Harabaz Druid, another very, very good one here. 1 and a green for an 0/1 human druid ally. You can tap this to add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of allies you control. Have a lot of creatures on your battlefield, you know, they're changelings, or you've made them into allies there, and you get a bunch of mana for the turn there. Very, very good. And if you've got the thing that duplicates things, the double down there, and you have 2 of these out there, well, you're making double that mana. Kodama's Reach for another mana ramp, 2 and a green, sorcery arcane, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, reveal them, 1 goes on the battlefield tapped, the other goes into your hand, and then shuffle, just like Cultivate. Manawef Sliver, just the same as Gemhide Sliver there, just another chance of getting it. 1 and green, 1/1 sliver, sliver creatures you control as tap, add 1 mana of any color. Masked Vandal, 1 and a green for a 1/3 shapeshifter changeling. When it ETBs, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls, so a little bit of removal for artifacts and enchantments specifically. Morite of the Frost, 2 a green, a blue, and 2 blue for a 0/0 legendary snow shapeshifter with changeling. You may have Morite of the Frost enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow in addition to its other types. And if it's a creature, it enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it and has changeling. So, because it can enter as a permanent you control, you can have it enter as a land or enchantment, artifact, anything you want there for a lot. But if it's a creature, it becomes that creature, except it gets +2/+2 and has a little bit of extra stuff on it there. Honestly, not too bad for an effect where, you know, other things like we talked about the Harabaz Druid, or, you know, doing double down is good, you know, getting another copy of that. You know, there's a lot of things that you could copy that'd be good with it. Risen Reef, 1, a green and a blue for a 1/1 elemental with whenever it or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it on the battlefield tapped. If you don't, put that card on the battlefield, put it in your hand. Very, very good card that I believe saw play around the time that it had released. Again, you've probably made all of your stuff all creature types there, so they're all elementals. So when they ETB, you either draw a card or you get a free land on the battlefield there. Pretty darn good. Spoils of Adventure, 4, a white and a blue. For an instant, this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. So probably with how you're working things, it's just going to be white and blue. If you've got Morophon out there, this is a... Oh, no, it's not a creature spell, so it's still white and blue. You gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. Pretty darn good for only 2 mana. And some of our artifacts here. Arcane Signet, 2. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Yep, more mana fixing. Bloodline Pretender, 3 mana for a 2/2 artifact shapeshifter changeling. When it ETBs, you choose a creature type. Whenever another creature of the chosen type ETBs under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on this, so you're going to make it really, really big by making a whole lot of stuff. Universal Automaton, 1 mana for a 1/1 shapeshifter, artifact shapeshifter changeling. It's an artifact there, so that's probably the best thing that's going for it. It's 1 mana, but honestly, it really doesn't do anything there. So it's probably another thing that I would replace with something else. And some more lands for us. Ancient Amphitheater lets us, have it enter untapped if you have a giant card in your hand. But mana fixes for red and white. Arcane Sanctum, Tri-land for white, blue, and black. Command Tower for all of your colors. Frontier Bivouac for green, blue, and red. Gilt Leaf Palace comes in untapped if you have an elf in your hand, taps for black and green. Jungle Shrine, Tri-land for red, green, and white. Opulent Palace, Tri-land for black, green, and blue. Path of Ancestry, enters tapped, but you can use 1 mana of any color in your commander's identity, so all of them there. If it's a creature spell that shares a type, which all of them do, you get the Scry one. Seaside Citadel, Tri-land for green, white, and blue. Wanderwine Hub, comes untapped if you have a merfolk in your hand, white and blue. And then you've got some basic lands of plains. So different types here. This one looks like it's from a jumpstart, and a jumpstart here. All of these looks like from jumpstart, some islands. And it looks like it has different ones for each one. Swamp, this one's really creepy with the eyes and the hands. 1 swamp, a couple of mountains, a couple of forests here. And we have our tokens Tiny, the token for the dog detective, City's Blessing, Shapeshifter, Cat, another Shapeshifter Changeling, and a 1/1 puppy, some food, and a plant, some treasure, and an egg, a clue, and a copy, Fairy Rogue, and an ox, another Fairy Rogue, and an ape, Saproling, an ape, Saproling, and a sliver. And we've got our shapeshifters here. So we've got a shapeshifter that is in the shape of an elk right now, 2/2. This one here is in the shape of an ooze. This one here is in the shape of a goblin. So it looks like it might be the same one that's just going to and from because they all have the same background. It's just that one there that's changing. And the last one there is going to be a snake. So that is all of them. But there is one extra card in here. And that is going to be a bonus card. I'm not too sure what it is. I can't quite remember. But it's going to be a Changeling Outcast. So this is the little bit of the bonus card that we got in here, actually. So 1 black mana for a 1/1 Shapeshifter Changeling. This creature can't block and can't be blocked. So, a little Shapeshifter that can just get in really quickly there. So if you've been able to put a whole bunch of stuff on here with anything there, a lot of the stuff boosts it up or gives abilities if it's a dog, a cat, a sliver, or whatnot there. And double strike, haste. Well, this is getting in and it's going to hurt really bad. But overall, I think that this is an incredibly fun deck. Now, I think that there are some that I'm going to replace in this that really don't do anything, which I don't think I saw much of that in any of the other ones that they have done. And of course, you know, can always upgrade the land base there. There's other ones that you could put in that do a bit more work with it. You know, you can do fetch lands if you want to, but you know, there's the other tri lands. There's the pain lands. You know, there's a bunch of different things that you could put in here if you really, really wanted to. But probably in here, something like, because there's so little pips in the casting cost there, probably Temple of the False God is not your best one. It's very similar with Moraganda Raceway, but you know, I think that you can upgrade the land base. You can transfer out a few of the creatures that really don't do anything, or maybe find stuff that have specific kindred synergies that are really, really good that you want to substitute in. And I think that it could be just like a really fun deck that can get really big really quickly and potentially get out a lot of cards really, really fast as well. So all in all, I've never been disappointed with one of these, and this one continues to prove it. And I know that they generally cost a little bit more than a normal commander deck there, and they do come with, you know, new stuff, but generally they don't hold back on some things. You know, the land base, they still kind of don't go all out. They've done a little bit better with these than normal, but not to the best extent there. But overall, I think that this was another fun little deck. I can't wait to play it with my friends there in a little bit of pre-constructed there. And, you know, I'm hoping that you have a nice day, evening, or night, that you'll be able to come back another time and join me for another one of these reviews, and especially for Lorwyn, which is going to be coming out as my next videos there. So thank you for joining me on this one. I'll look forward to you coming back on the next one. Until then, please take care of yourself, and I'll see you until then. Take care.